It was the kind of revelation that doesn't just dent a reputation, it obliterates it. In a stunning on-air statement, royal biographer Angela Levin has thrown Meghan Markle's entire marriage narrative into question by claiming that Harry was never her first royal choice. According to Levin, Meghan's sights were originally set on none other than Prince William, the future king. If true, this isn't just a personal embarrassment, it's a catastrophic PR meltdown that rewrites the great love story the Sussexes have sold to the world for the past 7 years.
Spouting off in her podcast. I mean, what is your view of how this podcast is going down at the moment, especially what the royal family is saying, if they're saying anything?
It was very interesting, just before she did it.
The fairy tale collapses into a cold, calculated strategy, a plan not born from romance, but from ruthless ambition to secure the most prestigious royal prize. Angela Levin has been in the royal game for decades, with rare access to senior royals, courtiers, and aides who are usually allergic to gossip. That's why her words carry weight. When Levin says she's been told by people inside the palace walls that Meghan's first royal target was William, she isn't speaking recklessly. She's speaking from conversations with those who were there.
That she wanted to speak without anybody filtering out what she said. She wanted to say the real me, so we'd all get to know that. I think she's put herself right down the drain, actually.
In her latest interview, Levin described hearing from credible insiders that Meghan's early interactions with the royal family included subtle and sometimes not so subtle attempts to connect more closely with William. This wasn't idle chatter, she insisted. These were accounts from individuals who observed Meghan's behavior firsthand and felt her interest was unusually focused on the man who one day will wear the crown. For Meghan, this claim is more than damaging. It's devastating because it suggests that Harry was not the one from the start, but the one available.
People have all around the world, not just the UK, have felt that her behaviour is not appropriate at any level about anyone. I mean, there were several lies that she said as well.
After her preferred option proved out of reach long before Harry and Meghan's 2016 blind date, Meghan's social life was not the random scatter of a Hollywood actress. It was laser-focused. Angela Levin's sources claim Meghan deliberately sought invitations to charity galas, fashion events, and cultural gatherings where she knew the Cambridges were expected. Was this just the behavior of a curious royal watcher? Perhaps. But when you examine the pattern, event after event, appearance after appearance, it begins to look more like calculated positioning.
A word which people don't use about her children. I can't imagine that any journalist would do that today. She hasn't got any proof. Another was that she couldn't take her Archie to school because there'd be about 4.
She didn't just stumble into circles where William and Kate moved. She navigated herself there. In the world of celebrity and royalty, proximity is currency. And Meghan, according to Levin, was banking every coin she could to get closer to the man at the very top of the royal hierarchy. Palace aides, notoriously difficult to impress, allegedly noticed Meghan's heightened interest in William almost immediately. She asked questions. She took note of his public appearances. She appeared to study his image and interests with an intensity that, in hindsight, feels more strategic than social.
Was there every single day. Well, there's a law in this country that you can't do that. You can go and take a small royal child on the first day of term, and that's it. You leave them alone. And
she didn't just casually find herself in William's orbit. Meghan positioned herself with precision, aiming for a connection that would open doors. But there was a problem. William, raised to navigate the complexities of royal life, could spot ambition at 50 paces. According to insiders, he maintained a polite but cool distance from Meghan, ensuring interactions remained surface level and public.
Not obeyed by the photographers, it's obeyed by the press. But she didn't do that. But another one which really fascinated me was that she said that she didn't have to sign anything while she was at the royal family, so she can say anything she liked.
Every plan has its turning point, and for Meghan, that turning point came when it became clear William was an obstacle, not an opportunity. He was already married to Kate, deeply committed to his role, and uninterested in forming any personal connection that could be perceived as improper. Kate herself, according to Levin's sources, was quick to sense something unusual in Meghan's attention. Far from the warm, sisterly bond Meghan would later claim she hoped for, Kate maintained a professional politeness, protecting her marriage and her position with the kind of quiet vigilance the palace is known for.
As what she said in Oprah Winfrey was that they silenced her. So
they took her passports apparently and everything else.
Well, she went on 18 holidays the year that they took her passports. I can't imagine they would let her out the country without that. But, you know,
This weariness, often explained in the press as clashing personalities, may have had a deeper cause. Kate sensed that Meghan's gaze had once been fixed on her husband and that trust was never going to be the foundation of their relationship. When William became an unreachable goal, Meghan's romantic story with Harry allegedly shifted into high gear. Here was a royal bachelor, the spare to William's heir, who was not only single but also famously emotionally vulnerable. Critics argue this pivot was swift and strategic. Once Harry was identified as the alternative path into royal life, the whirlwind romance between him and Meghan was practically inevitable.
and really, it was all about her. She wants to align herself with extremely rich women so that they become a group, but actually, she always has to win. And extraordinarily, she thinks that we all want to know. And that, for example, when she was called...
The whirlwind romance, just weeks between their first date and talk of commitment, makes more sense in the context of urgency. If Meghan's ambition was to marry into the royal family, Harry represented the last open door. From there, the fairy tale was rewritten. William was erased from the prelude. Harry was cast as the leading man, and the narrative of soulmates against the world was born. But thanks to Levin's revelation, that carefully edited prologue is now back in the public eye. And it's far less romantic than the Sussexes want us to believe.
that she told us in detail about how she sweated. Well, you know, we don't really want to know that, do we? But I thought that both of them have been just quite dreadful. And I think now coming over here, it's...
When Angela Levin made her claim, royal watchers didn't just ask if it was true, they asked if it fit. And the answer for many is yes, because this wouldn't be the first time Meghan's relationships appeared to align with her career or social ambitions. Before Harry, Meghan was married to Hollywood producer Trevor Engelson, a connection that offered her access to industry networks far beyond the reach of her suit's role. After their divorce, she moved into circles linked to celebrity stylists, political donors, and philanthropists with international reach. In each case, there's a visible pattern. Meghan invests heavily in relationships that carry influence.
Royal family. She did it. She did her podcast the week at the Diana's anniversary of her death, which I think was totally inappropriate. The Queen is not well, we all know that, yet she just blasts her way through. I've never known anybody quite like...
In Britain, Meghan's public image has been battered for years. But in the US, where she and Harry have tried to rebuild their brand, the fairy tale romance narrative is still the cornerstone of their public appeal. If Americans begin to see Harry as the backup plan instead of the great love story, the damage could be fatal to brand Sussex. The Oprah interview, the Netflix series, and even Harry's memoir Spare. The very foundation of their media empire is built on this notion of an undying, fateful love that has stood the test of royal scrutiny. But Levin's revelation chips away at that myth.
Won't actually have any empathy for anyone, yet will go and talk to people. She's going to One World, where she's talking to 190 young people about how they should be, and I think nobody should allow her there, because who wants to be like that?
Well, she seems to have people who want to be like her or emulate her. The Sussexes, there's some sort of the Sussex Squad or whatever they call themselves. And then there was that comment that she made about the fact that people in South Africa celebrated when Nelson Mandela was released from prison.
That's the key one. I should have said that first.
I mean,
When you strip away that central romance, what's left? Two disillusioned royals whose public persona was built on a false premise. A love story that, if Levin's claim is accurate, began not with fate but with failure. For years, palace insiders have accused Meghan of treating the monarchy as if it were a Hollywood studio, a platform to be leveraged for personal gain rather than an institution to be respected. Angela Levin's revelation doesn't just support that criticism, it supercharges it. If Meghan's first royal aim was the heir, not the spare, it reframes her marriage as a calculated career move, not a romance. It makes the palace's early skepticism toward her not only understandable, but arguably justified. This is why, even among royals who have stayed silent on the Sussex drama, there's a sense of grim vindication. They suspected her motives from the start, and now the public may finally see why. And then there's Meghan's silence with every other public controversy, from the infamous "Kate made me cry" claim to the accusations of bullying staff. The silence is deafening, and it speaks volumes. Meghan's decision to remain tight-lipped on such a massive accusation only feeds the fire. In the court of public opinion, silence is the perfect breeding ground for suspicion. To those who already harbor doubts about her intentions, this quiet response seems like a tacit admission of guilt. And for her die-hard supporters, this lack of defense leaves them in an uncomfortable position. How do you justify the story of true love when it's suddenly exposed as something much darker? The real question is, what happens now? The fairy tale image of Meghan and Harry as a couple meant to be has been shattered. The carefully built narrative of soulmates defying all odds is starting to crumble. If Meghan's love for Harry was simply the fallback option after her ambitions were dashed with William, the entire foundation of their marriage becomes suspect. Was the public love story, the passionate speeches, the media appearances, was it all part of a bigger play, a royal power move instead of a romance? The longer Meghan stays silent on these explosive revelations, the harder it will be to erase the stain they've left on her public image. What started as a tale of love and destiny is now a narrative of ambition, manipulation, and cold calculation. If Meghan had always set her sights on William and then switched to Harry when the former became out of reach, does it change everything we thought we knew about her motives? And what about Harry? As the world watches, is he still just the loving husband or the last-ditch option in a royal marriage built on compromise? Their story is no longer the stuff of fairy tales. It's starting to look more like a strategic chess game played with real-life consequences.